Hey guys!
Hey.
Welcome back to another episode of our podcast, Nothing in My Brain. I'm Olivia.
I'm Joey.
And for today's topic, we're going to be talking about burnout. And this is not something a lot of people talk about, but burnout is normal. And especially since we're juniors in high school, we have a lot to say about this topic.
Wait.
Okay, so burnout, the word was first coined by Herbert Freudenberger, and he is this German psychologist. And what burnout is it's a state of emotional, mental, and physical exhaustion that's caused by a really long period of stress.
Yeah, and I also think that we should talk about define what the difference is between burnout and stress.
Mm-hmm.
So stress is sort of short term, so it's tied to a specific goal that you want to achieve. For example, a test or a competition that's coming up that means a lot to you. And burnout is when the stress feels like it's never gonna end, like it's gonna be a long-term thing, and also comes with feelings of emptiness, apathy, and hopelessness. So some basic characteristics are a sense of dread about your work, or in our case, school, and also feeling emotionally exhausted. So we're just physically exhausted all the time, and mentally fatigued, and also being cynical. So having a negative response to a lot of things, and coming at things with a lot of anger and irritability. So kind of being irritable about a lot of things, and also sometimes you could feel alone in a lot of stuff, you're dealing with all this stress by yourself, which isn't necessarily true. And also you could also feel a sense of failure, you haven't really accomplished anything recently, and also just in general a lack of motivation and feeling helpless.
Yeah, and also I think another feature of burnout is depersonalization, because you kind of feel you're just observing the world and you're going through the motions every day, but you feel you're not really living in the world. Yeah. That does sound really pessimistic.
Yeah, but it's a cynical worldview, and also you sort of feel
things are pointless.
Yeah, things are meaningless. So you don't find meaning in the things you do every single day. And I think that's a large cause of why you could feel burnout. It's whatever you're doing every day doesn't mean as much to you anymore. So you don't believe in the work that you do anymore.
Yeah, and what you said about being really emotional during burnout, I definitely feel that, because these days, I feel I've been really irritable. The smallest thing will literally set me off.
It's the beginning of second semester.
Yeah, I know. It's the beginning of second semester. No, especially towards, the end of first semester. I was already feeling this way.
Yeah.
Even it was just something little, like I'm thinking right now. No, for example, let's just say, I lost my AirPods or something. That'll just
get me. That's a big thing, though. I would freak if I lost my AirPods.
But if I, lost my eraser or something, I'd be pretty angry.
No, I can't do my homework anymore.
Yeah. And then, especially with burnout, it just makes you feel so unmotivated. Mm-hmm. And it just makes it really hard to keep going.
Yeah, I think a general description of what I feel lately, even though it's just the beginning, it's sort of I don't want to go to school anymore, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know what you mean.
It's
it's kind of
so hard, and
yeah, it makes it hard to kind of show up. Yeah. Especially just waking up in the morning and knowing you have to.
It could be because of the winter, you know how hibernation months.
But... oh yeah, that's true. Because you want to stay under the covers.
Here.
Yeah, you want to stay under the covers.
Yeah.
But I definitely agree, especially because at school it's harder to focus as well, because you're feeling so tired, you want to sleep. So it's harder to engage in the classroom.
I've been seeing a lot of people during class. So
no,
I
everyone
think
does that.
Yeah, maybe not because of burnout. Maybe they was they were gaming. I don't know, but yeah, I feel I've been more prone to feeling tired during school. So when I get back home, I would I have energy now. But when I'm at school, I'm bro, I need this to end. I need to go home.
Yeah, and the thing is sleep or not getting sleep worsens burnout, because you're supposed to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. But the thing is, at least in our community, apparently, if you don't get enough sleep, that means you're, working harder than everyone else. And for some reason, people like to,
they
boast.
They like to brag about not having enough sleep. So, the less sleep I get, the more, hardworking I am, and the higher, grades I'll get, I guess,
they think, not sleeping will make them more successful.
Okay, and I'm, the complete opposite of that. I sleep, a lot during these like
and that's good because not sleeping is literally counterproductive because you can't listen in
thing
class.
is like I think that's also like a symptom of burnout where like you feel like physically tired so you sleep, but then when you wake up like you still feel tired because you're still experiencing the same burnout. So I think it's like I don't think like sleeping necessarily solves stuff. It's sort of like because you're not resting when I'm sleeping. I feel like when I'm sleeping like I'm not resting, I'm more of just like getting unconscious to the world to some extent.
Oh, do you mean like at night or like naps?
Like when I'm sleeping.
Oh.
Because like resting and like sleeping is like two different things. Like mentally, I feel like if you're not resting mentally, like you still experience signs of burnout.
Yeah, see, burnout is just caused by this constant pressure and it feels like you have to keep going. And that's actually like the problem with school is that you can't really take breaks. I mean, there's the weekends.
Yeah, so this is why I'm so grateful for this 3-day weekend.
Yeah,
like,
this 3-day
even
weekend.
if it seems like there's so much like stress like coming from like school, I feel like just like one extra day of like rest, like not maybe like mental rest but like physical rest is like I appreciate that a lot. So thank you, Martin Luther King Jr.
It really does like help me reset because like for school it's just, you have to keep going. There's always the next assignment, always like the next test you have to keep doing.
Yeah,
which just takes a toll.
Yeah, and like the homework too. It's just like you finish today's homework, there's tomorrow, some work, and tomorrow, some work, and tomorrow, some work.
Exactly. And also I feel like with burnout it causes like your productivity to decline or like the quality of work that you're putting out there just declines in general.
Yeah, it's like you don't put like much effort into like what you're doing because you don't believe that like it means much in the long term, and so like you just like sort of like give up and take a passive role in what you're doing.
Yeah, and I find it's like really hard because I struggle with motivation now.
Yeah,
because it's hard to like keep going because sometimes things just kind of feel like they're not getting better or it kind of feels like hopeless.
This has gotten like a depressing turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very true though.
And kind of what like contributes to burnout is like the competitiveness. So basically there's like a hustle culture or like a grind culture. Basically people think that like working hard and like putting in all your effort means that you can achieve success.
Yeah, and if you stop for like just a second, like you fall behind and it's like hard to like catch up with the rest of the masses.
Yeah, and I mean competitiveness is like a biological trait that we've had for like a long time. We've been using it for like self-evaluation, but competitiveness can also take a toll on our motivation. So basically there's extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. So extrinsic is from like external factors, whereas intrinsic is from yourself. And I feel like a lot of people are driven by extrinsic motivation, like with college,
like good grades,
It's
money.
Just the academic validation. And like studies have shown that once that extrinsic motivation or like incentive is removed, then you're not like motivated to work anymore. And it diminishes like the innate type of motivation.
Yeah. So I guess like maybe we should be motivated, like self-motivation.
Yeah, self-motivation. And also some other like ways burnout can make you feel is I feel like it just makes you feel, well, first of all, it does make you feel miserable, but it can also cause you to detach yourself from social relationships, from like friendships or family.
Yeah, like you're so caught up in like a headspace where you need to focus on work or school.
You don't have like the energy to do anything.
The mental energy to like connect with people.
Yeah,
socially.
It's hard to take care of yourself as well.
Yeah.
For some people, for like a lot of people.
Well, I feel like these like symptoms like coincide a lot with like signs of like depression.
Oh yeah, but
like,
burnout and like depression are like
different things. But maybe like depression could be a symptom of burnout.
I think I think definitely like burnout could lead to depression because burnout kind of like has a trigger, you know, it's caused by all the stress in your life, whereas depression can kind of come at any time. And depression also is like in all aspects of your life. It's not just like school or work related type of thing.
Yeah.
And apparently there's 5 stages of burnout because as you know, like burnout doesn't come all at once. It kind of just builds up. So the first one is called the honeymoon phase. So this is like where you're happy. This is how I felt in my freshman year or sophomore year.
Yeah.
I was joyful and I was like motivated to do my work and everything. And then the second phase is the onset of stress, and this is just like reduced productivity, and you're starting to feel it. And then the third stage is chronic stress. This is when you get really irritable and you start to like overwork yourself. And then the fourth stage is burnout, which again is characterized by like exhaustion and then apathy. And then the fifth stage is habitual burnout, and this is where you're struggling to function, and it's really good to seek help at like this stage.
Yeah. So personally, I don't think like I'm like, now that I think about it and after I heard those steps, I don't think I'm that serious yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I'm hoping it does not get worse throughout the second semester.
Yeah, but also I think that like a big part of like maybe just sort of an existential crisis moment where it's like all the effort that you're putting into this goal might not be what like the goal might not be what you actually want. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what does good grades in college mean? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, is that not what you're meaning?
No. Well, it was kind of related. So like I've been seeing a lot of videos and people are like, I've been doing all this just to get into like this.
Yeah, and then now that they're there, like, what's next, right?
Exactly.
So I think that maybe not believing in like working hard at school could be in part to like you don't know what getting into a good college actually means, right? Like, does it really mean like a good future for you forever? Like, does it guarantee that?
Yeah, people think that's like the end goal.
Yeah, but it's not. It's just like the beginning, right?
Exactly, it's just the beginning, and like in the future we're all gonna like do good regardless.
Yeah, and there's like so much work to be done when you get into a good college. You have to maintain like good grades. You have to like actually find like what you want to do for the rest of your life, right? So I think that like a lot of burnout at school comes to that like they don't know what their future looks like, and they don't know what they're working towards, and so it's like kind of hard to put everything you have into something that you're not sure what the outcome will be of, like what the result of it will be.
Wait, and I think it's like especially hard to keep the motivation going. You know how people have senioritis?
Right.
That's because like they already got into college. They think, I'm good, but that's just because now they don't have that extrinsic like incentive anymore. So it's not good, because you should be driven by your own desire to keep improving.
So to them, like the entire point of high school is to get into college. But when in part the entire point of high school should be like number one, obviously to learn, right? Because I mean, I think the courses offered at our schools like kind of really educational compared to like other schools. So I think that we should have taken advantage of that, like I guess sooner. But also like to connect socially. So like if you get into a good college, like you're not just gonna throw like your high school friends behind. Yeah, that's kind of sad. So
it's like high school is meant to be enjoyable, and it's meant for you to kind of like socialize and just experience like the high school life. It shouldn't be something that's super miserable. So I know it can be hard, but try to like find things that make you happy so you can like appreciate each day instead of just trying to make it to Friday all the time, because that's just like a very pessimistic like thinking style.
It's also like a cycle of just misery, you know what I'm saying? Like you're just working to get out that misery just to fall back into it again and again and again, which is
not a good way to
sad.
live your life.
It's so sad to think about it.
That's really sad. Okay, so I think we should also talk about some of the ways like burnout can affect your brain. So this is the effect of burnout on like the neuroendocrine system. So of course, burnout is caused by high stress, and high stress, you kind of get like that fight or flight response, and your body's continually in this state, and then this causes the release of norepinephrine, and also you have high cortisol. And so this can cause cognitive decline and memory impairments, which is why it can be hard for you to like retain information and stuff. And then normally after like a rush of cortisol, our body will trigger reactions, and then our cortisol will like fall back to baseline levels. But high stress is when cortisol remains high for too long, and your body actually shifts cortisol production to be too low, and this is called like hypocortisolism. And this just has like a lot of negative effects down the road. And then another feature of burnout is of course sleep deprivation, but sleep is so important. So basically we have the glymphatic system, and this is a waste clearance system in the brain, and it's most active when we sleep. So this cleans neurotoxic proteins like amyloid, tau, and alpha-synuclein. And these are proteins that contribute to neurodegeneration. So when you're getting poor sleep, you're accumulating more of these toxins in your brain, which is bad when you're older. Mm-hmm. And there have also been like studies done on stress in the brain. So it can cause an enlarged amygdala, and then that amygdala has weaker connection to the prefrontal cortex, which is why you might have like trouble regulating your emotions during burnout. Mm-hmm. And there's also less gray matter or like connections in the prefrontal cortex, so it's harder to like make decisions and judge logically.
I think it's like interesting how burnout is psychological, but it affects you physiologically.
Yeah,
that affects you psychologically.
That's true.
Isn't that crazy?
It's like a cycle because, for example, burnout causes you to like lose your appetite or something, but then when you're not eating well enough, then it's causing you to think all these bad things and stuff like that.
Yeah, so maybe that's why like physical exercise like can sort of help break that cycle. So if you're doing well physiologically, maybe you can sort of help correct your psychological issues, I guess.
Yeah. And I think this leads us to kind of like how to manage burnout. Like what are some ways? I think first of all, the key is kind of to be self-aware. You have to know that you're experiencing these things, and you have to make a note of what is causing you all this stress in your life. And then, of course, taking a break is so important, because taking a break just allows your minds to reset and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I feel like admitting that there's a problem is one thing, but like I feel like the problem usually is like so big because it's like a huge part of your life. For example, like work, like you can't just quit work, that's right? Because it's something that you got a degree on. That's what you establish yourself in. Or maybe at school, like you can't quit school. You know, you can't just
drop out.
Well, you can't tank your grades because that's like your entire future is like at stake. So it's like really scary, especially since like the stress of school is that you want to have a good future, so you can't like drop out because they'll just like defeat the entire point. So I feel like a lot of things that I feel like you have to do as a person is sort of like volunteer or like tutor people or like help your friends out or your family out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of the time, like if you're volunteering with a cause just because, I mean, obviously you want to feel good, right? But if it's like not a cause that you really believe in or that you're not like passionate about, I feel like you would get burnout really quickly. And that goes the same for school. Like if you're studying a subject that you don't absolutely love or you don't like understand completely, or you don't want to understand completely, it's kind of like so hard because you're basically battling
you don't have like that internal motivation. I know what you mean. So you kind of need to like find things you're passionate about and do something like for your community, so you feel like you're contributing and you feel like it has like your life has a meaning. Yeah, and school is so difficult that if you don't have the passion or if you don't have the motivation to sort of face that struggle, even though it's really hard, then I feel like you would just absolutely sink in school, right? So that comes a big of burnout where it's like everything is so heavy and you don't have the strength to like lift it. That's why I also think finding support is really important. Just so you know that not everything is on your plate. You know that there are people out there that are willing to support you and just like help you. It takes some stress off your mind.
And it comes with like study groups and like friends who like can encourage you and motivate you, right? But also like I think we should also like talk about the fact that like if you are like in a job where you are like completely burned out, or if you're studying like a major that like you don't want to study anymore, I feel like a lot of the time you just gotta let it go.
Like let the major go,
or like let whatever like it's like stressing you go. Like
I
don't know how to say it, but like you have to like live another life to make sure that like this life is not the one that you want.
That's true. Don't live, right? Like I feel like a lot of people, you know, like the 9 to 5 like job type of thing. If the job really makes you that miserable, maybe it's a good idea to like step back and do something else.
That's why like a lot of people take like gap years or like they just like go off for like a year-long like backpacking trip. It's just that like they've been like stuck in this like rut or like this cycle like for so long that they had to just drop everything and go live a life that's completely opposite to what they've been living. So they've been working so hard every single day, and they just like completely switched to like doing nothing every single day, or well, not nothing, but they're just enjoying themselves every single day, and like that big of an impact on like their lives can sort of help them reset what they think life should be or what life should mean.
So you're kind of like reevaluating and like reprioritizing what you
values,
think is like important to you.
Yeah.
And then like another thing that really helps with burnout is self-care, just making time for yourself in general. You need to like give yourself time to like unwind because your mind has been working so hard. And I think we kind of discussed this in like the anxiety episode of like how to unwind, like meditation and stuff like that. But just doing like the things you love in general.
Yeah, so like adopting like good hobbies. So
yeah, even if it's just taking a walk in nature, having a picnic, eating some cake.
Let them eat cake. Yeah, so like if like school is like too stressful, just I guess just reset by going on a walk or eating cake.
Yeah. And then again, burnout obviously is really hard, but it's really important to like persevere through it kind of. So I think like we mentioned this before, but like the symptoms of burnout are like similar to those of depression, as we said. So apparently during burnout, there is reduced serotonin binding in like regions involved in emotional processing, like the anterior cingulate cortex, the hippocampus, which is why we kind of have memory impairment, and the anterior insular cortex. And then these are like the brain regions affected by chronic stress, which is why the symptoms of burnout are like super similar to those of depression. And the thing about burnout is kind of like shorter terms than depression, because burnout can kind of be resolved once like that stress is removed from your life, whereas depression is just very pervasive. It's kind of like steady.
I can see what you mean. So for example, if there's just like winter break, then you sort of remove from that stressor for a while, or if like there's like a month, like a week-long vacation, and you stop going to work, then that sort of
you kind of heal a little bit.
You sort of get to reset a little bit. Like depression, like it follows you wherever you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's like a good wrap to our episode on burnout.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to check us out on Spotify, YouTube, and on Insta.
Okay guys, bye. We'll see you in the next episode.